Hello YouTube, it is Cuber of the Cuber 9000 channel. I have recently received a request to give a tutorial, a request, not a quequest. Apparently I can't pronounce words anymore. I recently received a request to give instructions on the Triple Trippy effect, which I recently just published in the Hanna-Barbera swirling star logo, but it's Triple Trippy. Now, I had made instructions to this before, however, I had to remove the shared folder that I stored these instructions on, so I am going to give you guys a video tutorial today. Now, I am going to be giving this tutorial using open source software only from OpenSUSE Linux. Now, OpenSUSE Linux, interestingly enough, is one of the hardest to deal with when it comes to my video programs. It doesn't come with the media codecs that other Linuxes do because they're very strict on avoiding copyright issues and, making sure they don't distribute software that they don't have the right to. But I do like OpenSUSE because the base system is one of the most stable that I've ever used. The basic programs, the virtualization, things like that work great, and it also has good console text-only functionality, whereas most other ones, even Magia, which I used before, fall a little short in that respect. So, to do Triple Trippy on a Linux system, you can also do this on a Windows system. I believe they make Kdenlive for Windows. You're going to want Audacity and Kdenlive. And we are going to start in Audacity. While I'm pulling it up, I'm just going to explain what Triple Trippy is. It basically smears the video's color and sound. The color of the video we're splitting into the color channels red, green, and blue, and we're delaying them with respect to each other. So the red channel is going to play a little bit earlier than the green channel, which will play a little bit earlier than the blue channel. So the colors will basically be out of sync. Now the sound we're going to be splitting up in a similar fashion, but because sound doesn't have color unless you have synthesia, and that's a whole nother topic that I won't get into today, we are going to be splitting up the sound based on frequencies. Specifically, we are going to split them up based on bass, middle, and treble. And this is a special video because this is the first time I'm applying this particular version of the Triple Trippy effect, which I think I'm going to call Triple Trippy 2, because the sound sounds a lot better than it has in my previous iteration since I started using Linux. So, starting with the audio effect. In Audacity, we are going to want to import some sample audio. And today I'm going to use the J2 Communications logo. Thank you, Dude That Logo, for supplying this. And we are going to duplicate our track 3 times. Well, before we do that, we need to take some steps. I always publish my videos with 48,000 Hz sound quality. You don't have to do this, but I generally set my project rate to 48,000 Hz and I resample my sound to 48,000 Hz. Alright, with that being all set up, now we duplicate the track 3 times. Just select your track, Control D, and Control D again. Our first track we're going to dedicate to bass only. Before I split this up, I'm just going to play it. I don't know how it's going to sound coming through my speakers, so you might not be able to hear this in the video, but just in case, I'll play it. Now, the key to making Triple Trippy work is you want to have sound that has bass, mid, and treble frequencies, which means that it has frequencies that go all the way from low frequencies to high frequencies. And you can do this, you can determine if it has this by viewing a spectrogram. A waveform really doesn't give you a lot of information, but a spectrogram will. And you can experiment with the settings on your own time, but as long as you see things up top and things on the bottom, you're good. Now, something I should have done before I duplicated the tracks is amplify it to have a volume close to full volume. I'm gonna unsolo that, and I will actually I'm gonna undo the duplication. I'll get rid of my duplicate tracks. So we've imported our sound. Before you duplicate, resample, and then amplify it so it has a volume close to full volume. I use -0.1, a centibel. Now it's just a tad louder. Now we can duplicate our tracks safely. So our first track is going to be for bass frequencies only. And Audacity defines bass frequencies as 250 Hz and below. Dubstep fans may know these as the wub-wub frequencies. So on this track, we are going to apply a low-pass filter, which means we're going to be cutting off sounds at any higher than a specific frequency. And we're going to set that at 250 Hz. So anything below 250 Hz stays, anything above goes. And this roll-off, what this roll-off does is it controls the harshness of the filter. If you have a low volume, or if you have a low roll-off, then the cutoff of frequencies is pretty smooth, so you may still get some frequencies above 250 Hz. Whereas if you make it a really high roll-off, a really strong roll-off, the cutoff is going to be very sharp. You know, you're going to get to 250 Hz, and then anything above that will decrease in volume very rapidly. And we do want a harsh roll-off, so I'm using 48 decibels. Apply this low-pass filter and you're done. And looking at the spectrogram, you can see that only low frequencies have persisted. And I'll just play this for posterity's sake. Alright, our next mission is to make mid-frequencies. These are going to be between 250 and 4000 Hz. So we are going to apply a high-pass filter first. A high-pass filter is just the reverse of a low-pass filter. You allow sounds that are higher in frequency to a specific frequency of your choice. So we're going to go back to 250 Hz and a roll-off of 48 decibels, with the only difference being that now we're allowing sounds higher than 250 instead of lower than 250. So now we have mid and treble. We still need to get rid of treble. So we're going to add another low-pass filter at 4000 Hz with a harsh roll-off. So now we've cut off low sounds and high sounds and left only mid sounds, mid-level frequencies to persist. And that will sound kind of like muffled, like an old radio or something along those lines. That's to be expected. Come on, go back. There we go. Now lastly, we need to make our treble track only high frequencies. And for this we just need one high-pass filter at 4000 Hz with a harsh roll-off of 48 decibels. So we play this, and you may not even be able to hear this at all. But if you were to play this on your computer, you could hear that only very high frequencies will persist. It will be very harsh to your ears. Now, if I play them all at the same time, the result should sound exactly like my starting material, because the starting is just the sum of my low frequencies and my mid frequencies and my high frequencies. And you know, that's pretty interesting, but that's not how this effect works. We are mangling the sound. We're taking these frequencies out of sync with each other. So I am not going to export this as a mix. I'm not going to mix tracks like I do with most of my effects. What I'm going to do is go to my low track and export this as some audio, and you can see that I've already done this earlier. Can I delete that? No, I'll just give these new names. So this would be J2 TT tutorial low. So my low frequencies go into one file. You can see I made a mistake. I tried to export like a normal audio file when I can't do that. Instead, what I need to do is export selected audio. Now I say J2 TT tutorial low. There we go. I wish I remembered how to get rid of the metadata editor. Go to your mid-level frequencies, export them as J2 Triple Trippy tutorial mid. Now mind you, you don't have to use the specific file names I'm using. I'm just using them because of, when I did it again. Export selected audio. Actually, did I remember to select that? It looks like I did. Alright, J2, let me try it again. Tutorial mid. There we go. Now this one I'm not going to mess up. Select your treble, File, Export, Selected Audio. J2, TT, Tutorial, High. So what you want to do once you separate your frequencies is export each track individually. Don't worry about mixing them together in Audacity, just work with that in the video program, because the video program is better at timing things by frame. So you have a low, a mid, and a high track, and you want to export those as 3 separate tracks. We are done with the audio program for now, so I'm going to save this just in case I need to go back to it. So J2 TT tutorial project. Now, one of these days they're going to fix this notification telling me to save my project even though I saved a compressed copy of my project. Now we're on to our next step of going to Kdenlive. So this is the video effect. Hopefully Vegas users will find this helpful as well. You should notice some similarities between things. So before I even begin in my video program, I am going to add an audio track. I'll just call it audio 3. So I need to have at least 3 audio tracks, and I am going to add a track for my corner logo. Now to do the video effect you only need 3 tracks. I added the extra track so I could put my corner logo in this when I'm done, so I can have a video to publish after this tutorial, but you don't need to do that if you don't have a corner logo. So to do the video effect, which is step 2, we are going to go to our original video that we edited. Now the video you want to make sure has either a decent selection of colors or a decent amount of white. And this video has a good amount of light colors. So really the key is that you have red, green, and blue components in your video. And, you know, a video with a lot of motion and a lot of white objects would work fine. Blues and yellows would work fine, you know, reds and teals would work fine, but you don't want something that's all blue, you don't want something that's all green, such and such like that. So we're going to import this video into our timeline in 3 separate tracks. And disable, not disable video, disable audio. So you just want to mute the audio in these, because the audio comes later. I'm going to go to a representative frame with a lot of motion, so I'll go there. It's not a frame that represents the logo well, but it represents the motion of the logo well. So I need to apply color channel mixing to all of these. So I'll start with video 1. I'll mute the video for the top 2 tracks. And in Vegas you would use channel blend to do this, but in Kdenlive, which is free, I am applying color channel mixer. And what you want to do in color channel mixer is have only a red channel. So you want to turn off green. AVGG means the product or the component of the green channel in the output that comes from the green channel in the input. This is kind of like green equals X times green. Now the default is to have red equals 1 times red, of course. Green equals 1 times green, and blue equals 1 times blue. That just makes sense. If you were to rotate the hue 120 degrees, then it would be red equals 1 times green, green equals 1 times, green equals 1 times red, blue equals 1 times green, and red equals 1 times blue. And because we are just trying to shut off the green and blue channels, we're going to set the strength of green based on green to 0. So you see my green channel shuts off, and I'm going to do the same to blue. So now we have only the red channel. In video 2, I'm going to apply that again, but I'll just turn off the red and blue channels instead. Now we're dealing with only green. And you can probably see what's coming up next. I add color channel mixer, turn off the red and the green channels. Great. So if I go to my transitions, this is kind of like compositing in Sony Vegas. So you're going to want to add all these tracks together, but I'm adding the addition transition between all of my tracks. So now you can see that the video is back to its original state. And that's kind of like the audio. We added all the transition, we added all the frequencies together, and it sounded like the original. We add all these color channels together, it looks like the original. So now is the part where it gets trippy. We're going to make these color channels out of sync. I've zoomed in a lot to the beginning of the video. You can see that I'm working at 60 frames a second in full HD. So what I'm going to do is I will take my green channel and delay it 5 frames. 1, 2, 3. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you make videos at only 30 frames a second, you should use 3-frame delays instead of 5-frame delays. And you can see that we have some color desyncing. The green channel is now out of line with the red and the blue channels, which are making these magenta shapes. And that's represented here because the logo is still in motion at this point. Now, next I want to do the same to blue, but I want to delay that 5 more frames than the green channel. So the blue is going to trail the green by 5 frames. So I'll do the 5-frame thing, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now all the colors are out of sync, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to make sure that addition spans the whole track. It does. Something I should have done before I duplicated all these tracks is set them to widescreen. And just to save me a little bit of time, because I don't want to undo all of this and start again, is I'll just apply widescreen to all of them. But just so that this doesn't crash, I'll save it. G2 TT tutorial. So I'm going to go to, it's called pan and zoom. Actually, no, I'll do transform. transform. Let's go to our red channel. Oh, it crashed. That's fine. Do I still have it on there? No, I don't. So just to show you guys this tutorial, so I can see it through the end, I'm not going to bother panning and cropping the video quite yet. Really what matters is having these color channels out of sync, and I've shown you how to do that. So just in the future, to save time, you should pan and crop before you do that. I should have done that myself. So now that I have my color channels out of sync, I'm going to add that's not quite what I wanted. I'll add the frequencies that I made in my tutorial. So which one is this? This is mid, low. So the low frequencies, the bass, are going to come first, and those will be in sync with the red channel. So you can see I drag this into the timeline in line with the red channel. The mids are going to be in sync with the green channel, so I'm going to drag them in the timeline, and I will snap them to line up with the green channel. Which means you can probably guess what I'm doing with the high frequency sounds. I'm lining them up with the blue channel. Just to make sure they line up well. Yeah, there we go. Save this in case it crashes. This is going to play extremely, extremely slowly. It might not even work. So really, this program isn't too conducive to playback, but you can see the motion of the colors. You can see that they're definitely out of sync and that it looks like they're leaving trails. The audio, you can barely tell, is altered doing anything, but interesting. It almost looks like the bass and the mid are more in line than I thought, but no, they're definitely out of sync. But once I render this video, it will be a little bit easier to watch. So that's it, really. That's how you apply Triple Trippy. And I wish that this was a better environment for me to play back the video so you could see it. But I'm going to work on panning and cropping the video and adding my corner logo so that you can see this in action. And I'll make that video kind of a companion to this tutorial. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you enjoy applying this effect in the future.